Jumbo, how far is about what's going on? I'm Kunjana. Thanks so much for staying tuned in to my YT channel. Thanks so much for tuning in to my channel. When last did I do this intro? Because the previous 3 videos did not require an intro. They did, but then I didn't do no intro. And disclaimer, I'm literally by the main road. So if you hear any it's because of the cars and I can't do anything about it. So in today's video, actually let me close the windows. Should I? Okay, that should be a bit better now. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys tips that worked for me in order to get a distinction for my geography and my matric. I matriculated in the year 2022, so it's been over a year now, and I do think that these tips will also help you guys. But a huge disclaimer, as I said, these are things that were able to work for me. They might not work for you, but you can try, give them a try, and I think you guys are also be able to stand a chance to at least do better than I did, of course, because I did these things unintentionally. So but now that you are intentional and you know exactly what you're doing and highlighting the things from the beginning, because in most cases you would expect that I learned from my mistakes. So if in term 1 I didn't do some things, then of course in term 2 I would implement those things. And if the junior exams I saw some trends, then which I fumbled, and then which means in the 4th term for my finals I'll be able to pick those things up. So if I tell you these things now, you won't have to make the mistakes that I made. Period. So uningi, hence I wrote everything down in my diary. So we're gonna get straight to the point. I don't want to waste any time. First things first, remember geography separated into 2, right? And that's map work and your theory. And within your theory you have your geomorphology, your climatology, and your economic geography. I hope I'm not missing anything, right? I'm gonna start with the map work and what you should do, or thing that you should basically look out for. The first thing that I want to say is the calculations. Practice. Don't just look at the or how do you do declination, how do you calculate this, how do you calculate, do it, practice it. Look at it, see how it's done, and then practice it. Practice and practice. You can't just look at a sum and then, oh, okay, 4, 5, okay, and then you move on. Chances are, in the textbook or in the whatever, or in the sheets that you guys are given, there's not proper example. You don't physically go and measure things out. They might just do things hypothetically. So, or hypothetically speaking, and just give you random numbers, and you don't know how to get those numbers. Next time you forget, oh my goodness, was it centimeters or was it millimeters? How to convert the practice. And the only way that you can remember if it's a millimeter or is it kilometer or is it whatever is if you practice. Because if you want to keep things to memory and it's numbers, and according to me, it's very easy to score marks for map work because it's like it says, you know, it's a formula. Same steps, get the answer. Formula. You don't have to think. You don't have to analyze like the mark a paragraph questions. Formula. You apply. You get the mark. Finish. And another reason why I say you must practice and not only look at them is that you will see that in some papers that you will write, they will give you the formula. In most cases, they say no. Study the formula. Study every single thing. But in some papers, you will see that they will give you. The distance is equal to the map distance multiplied by the scale, for example, you know, because in most cases they won't give you, and now that will confuse you. Some people are confused by people's handwritings. So now if you see that's why 3 marks instead of the 5 marks that you know, then you're gonna have a problem. Practice. Next up is what else? The coordinates, of course, we spoke about that. And then know the difference between latitude and longitudinal lines. And then again, when it comes to map work, we have the GIS one and the remote sensing. Know the definition. Don't even try and play. Know the definition. Can't be seeing the definition. I think the definition goes something like GIS is a computer-based system that is used to collect, analyze, manage, manipulate, and present geographical data. And you must also know why we do that so that we can make decisions. And then also know that things is the 5 branches of GIS: is the software, the hardware, the personnel, the data, and the method. Know that. And then when it comes to application with relation to the GIS, one thing I can say to you is that, which I wish I knew when I was in grade 10, 11, and 12, but of course matric, is that geography is one. Everything connects, from the map work to all the theory subjects, everything is connected. So when we speak of the application, you need to make sure that you're able to connect all these things. You know how when they speak about the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the lithosphere, and the biosphere, how everything is connected? Like with geography, geomorphology, lithosphere, and then the climatology, the hydrosphere, and the atmosphere, all those things are able to connect each other. Same when we look at the application. One thing I must say though is that, as I said in the beginning, that it's easier to score marks with Mapwork because it's sets, like it's standards, nothing crazy, nothing funny, unless that last question that might ask you application relation to your GIS. Maybe they ask you, looking at D5, why is it necessary, I don't know, to use raster data or vector data, something like that. And then you have to remember the advantages and the disadvantages of the raster data and the vector data. Remember, geography is one. Let's see, always, yeah, basically for application. And what I must say again for application is that you need to make sure that you explore. Don't be narrow-minded. Let's say, for example, they ask you, if you look at D5, Mr. Smith wants to build a mall there. Why is it a good idea that he must build a mall there? Now, you look at D5 and you see, okay, fine, D5, the contour lines are further from each other, which means it's more gradual. So we can actually have a building there, right? 1 point or even 2 points, I don't know. But don't only focus on the mall itself. Also see the bigger picture. In D5, there's the contour lines are gradual. And then in D6, there is a township over there, buildings, there's a township. And then also in between D5 and D6, there are roads. Now then you must think, okay, fine, cool. It'll be a good idea for Mr. Smith to build the mall there because he won't have to look very far for labor. There's usually labor next door, right? People can come and work there as for construction, and also to employ people in retail. We have people in the nearby township, and we look at townships, we look at people that are in middle class situations. So therefore, you would find a number of people that would be interested to come and work in retail, to be security guards, and. You look at the road, okay, fine, if that's a busy road, which means that people be able to see them when it's in a good environment. People pass here, which means that he's more likely to attract customers. I know that's a little bit small scale, but you explore all these ideas. You don't only look at the mall. You don't only focus on D5, like, okay, fine, D5, okay, because what surrounds D5? What makes D5? D5's surroundings as well. So explore, don't only be narrow-minded when you're answering application questions. Moving on to geomorphology, which I must say for me was the most challenging out of the Mapwork, Climatology, and Economic Geography. Geomorphology for me is not something you can understand, but it's something that you need to know, memorize and know, okay? Engage with the content. So geography is a lot, especially the theory. But when it comes to geomorphology, you have to read the notes to have an understanding. You can't just browse through them because they are everyday things that happen. It's not like you look at a rock and say, okay, fine, okay, that's the rock, okay. But with climatology and economic geography, it's things that happen on a daily. You are aware of these things, and it's conversations that you most likely engage in. Excuse me. And it's conversations that you most likely engage in. So for the geomorphology, I'm going to start with the paragraph questions. When they say 8 lines, they mean 8 lines. Approximately, they mean approximately. If you're a teacher from grade 10, 11, and now currently, maybe 8 and 11 of course, has been lenient, you give him 18 lines, you give him 15, 20 lines, and then you get the full 8 marks. Okay, bet. But now it's December, they are marking hundreds of papers of children, and when you have a full page for question 4.3, a full page, and they must have the goals to mark your paper. Be serious, be real, be honest. If you've been writing 24 lines, I'm not sure how many lines are in a paper, but if you're writing the full page and they say 8 lines, and your teacher gives you the full 8 marks because of course your answers are correct, but the argument is that you're reading the whole entire page, please forget that. Practice to put them exactly in 8 lines. Remember, it's not a history essay. You're not going to give us the introduction, the body, the conclusion, straight to the point. Tell us there will be job losses because 16, 18, and 34. There is a township nearby. It will create job opportunities. Just straight to the point. They are looking for keywords, okay? Don't try and show us your English skills and your grammar skills. No, move past that. Secondly, the biological terms. So I found that some of these definitions can be the same. Also good to they ask you what is a confluence and then an interfluent, and you're like, oh, and then you forget the difference. So most of these things can be tricky, or they ask you the tributary and a distributary, and I'm like, oh my goodness, but what's the difference? So you must always make sure that you memorize the definitions in Geomorphology, and then don't look, learn, don't browse. If you're going to browse through confluence, browse through distributary and tributaries, okay, you have a problem. Because in geography, they have this thing where they don't play around. 2 marks, define confluence. Define they don't play around, they don't joke around. So if you think you're going to find clues somewhere, forget it. Okay, it's either you tough or you don't tough. Moving on. Oh yes, so I made an example here, but this one is in economic geography. For example, GDP and GNP, just know the difference. Okay. And also, there's one thing I'm trying to remember here, but I actually forgot. When they speak about the groundwater, that whole entire section of soil and water, the groundwater, soil profile stuff, make sure you know the difference. When they speak about water that seeps through to the, something like that, when you get to that section, mark NB because it can really confuse you. And then moving on to climatology, which for me is definitely the easiest, not because it's easy, but because it's easier to do, right? Now in climatology, you can score the most marks. You can even score 100% in climatology. This is what you must do. Make summaries, and memorize those summaries. Now you have your mid-latitude cyclone. So you will have your different kinds of cyclones and weather phenomena. Make summaries. So if your teacher will allow you guys to actually use your book as your own, if it's not going to mark your books anymore, then, or maybe you can get a new book. You take your entire book, a full 2 pages like this. You write here, mid-latitude cyclone. Next page, tropical cyclone. Next page, kanjalo. And then you write what, where, how, when. You write, okay, what is it? The mid-latitude cyclone. Where, and then when we speak about, and then you write when, and then how does it move? It moves from west to east. You write everything. What conditions does it need to occur? You write everything related to it. So what, where, when, how, all the questions that you think you can answer about the mid-latitude cyclone. Then the stages of formation, and then within the stages, write down what actually happens in the stages, and then if it dissipates, what allows it to dissipate. Because you knowing these things, they might even ask you one of those 8-mark questions at the end, 4.3. What can they ask you? Or they can give you maybe a case study, and then they say to you, the cyclone was traveling at this speed when it was in area A, and now it's in area B, and area B is in land. Then they ask you, the speed then decreased. Why is that? Now you have to explain. You would say, what happened to the cyclone when it gets to land? Now, because you know the 5 stages of formation of the cyclone, then you are able to actually answer the question. That's just what's up. So make summaries, make the summaries. You won't regret it. You will not forget. You won't forget what happens. Also, an extra tip here is that, the way that they examine this can be a bit tricky sometimes. You might look at it, they might give you an image, and when you look at it, it looks like a tropical cyclone, but then it looks like a mid-latitude cyclone or whatever cyclone. All I can tell is sometimes they can reuse images. So if you're not really sure what you are looking at. Remember, have you seen the image in your textbook? Have you seen the image in your notes? And that way, if you're really not sure what they're talking about here, or maybe they describe the cyclone in a different word, they use a different word for cyclone, maybe they say I don't know, monsoon or whatever, and you've never heard the word anywhere, look at the image. Do I know this image, and have I seen it somewhere? And in that way, you are able to then answer your question. Tip number 2 is that look at the dates and the months, which will then tell you, is it January, is it in June, December, and then that way you're able to see the seasons, because now you studied or you memorized the different kinds of phenomena that we're speaking about now, and you know which happens in which season. So if the diagram looks a bit sketchy, you don't know what's going on, the description is using different scientific words you've never seen before, look at the dates on the map and see, oh, okay, I see. Secondly, you can also look at the ITCZ and where it's lying. Okay, if it's above the Tropic of Capricorn and in the Tropic of Cancer, then you know that means it is summer in the southern hemisphere, and then you are able to just explore all these. No, it's winter. Sorry, it's winter in the Tropic of Capricorn, which is in South Africa, of course. And then what else? Yeah, that's about it. And also don't forget your low pressure cells, your Kalahari high pressure, your continental low, your South Atlantic high pressure, and then don't forget all of that, and also keep that in mind when you're answering questions. If you look at the diagram and it's throwing you off, or the description is throwing you off, just looking for those hints. Where are the pressure belt situated right now, and what can I say about that? And from there on, can I deduce now, we'll see what weather phenomenon is this one? Is it the MLC, tropical cyclone, whatever. Moving on to economic geography, which I think a lot of people found it easier. However, I remember in grade 11 I didn't do extremely well, but I did quite well. So for me, I thought I knew, but I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. So in MATRIC, I just had putting in a lot more effort in the economic geography. What's the first thing I want to say? Practice the 8 paragraph questions, because there's a trend, darling. Whether you like it or not, there is a trend, okay? Don't think I will think in the exam paper. You're wasting your time. There's a trend. Don't be too smart to try things that will actually help you, okay? Swallow your pride and actually do this thing. So, for example, the trends that I want to speak about are these: loss of jobs. You know what I'm talking about. Loss of jobs, people struggle, affect the economy, you know. And then you get your 8 marks easy like that, because in most cases, the things, the struggles that are within economic geography, all of them might have the same consequences there and there. What next? So you can see the trend, because there are trends. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The definitions. You see, geomorphology and economic geography, the definitions are a lot. And that's why I stress them more than the climatology ones, because with climatology already, you have an entire cyclone that they can test you on. You get what I mean? So with economic geography and geomorphology, it can be a little bit easier to score your 2 marks there, which of course are very vital. Okay, I think that's all for now. And also, when it comes to concepts that have diagrams in them, do not only look at them and memorize and move on. Do past papers. There's this concept of river capture. If you play around and mess around, you will find out, my darling. In the diagram they give you in your notes, the capture stream will be this side, then the mountain looks like this, and then the elbow looks like that. In the exam paper, everything is black and white, so you don't see the hill anymore, you don't understand where the capture stream is or the captured. You do past papers, because in most cases, the things in our notes are summarized for us to understand. And then when you memorize instead of actually wanting to understand. So you need to familiarize yourself with the past papers, because chances are they might even recycle the images that they use. So it's very important that with concepts that go hand in hand with diagrams, you don't only look at your notes. You look at your notes, you look at your textbook, you even go on Google if you may, and most importantly, past papers. Past paper. It even helps you understand, or rather have an idea of how the ideas in the paper are going to follow on each other. Additional notes is that you can't do geography, my girl, and not have a cashier. You just can't do it. By the way, I mean a calculator. And secondly, your protractor. Serious, you are not serious with your life. You are not serious with your life. You must have a protractor to always help you, and you must know how to use it. Yeah? Do not do the mistake of buying a protractor the day before for tomorrow's exam. You won't know how to use it. You will struggle. You will look at it and think, I know how to use it, but then you will struggle. It needs practice. You don't just look at it. The very same way you don't look at math sums, because they will tell you 1 + 1 is 2, and in the paper you then have 2 - 1 is what? So you must be able to practice these things. Past papers. Past papers are very important. And if you struggle with a concept, please go and ask. More especially with Geomorphology, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Thank you so much, guys, for watching till this far. If you enjoyed the video, just leave a thumbs up and a pretty emoji in the comment section. Thank you so much. Bye. I hope these tips will actually help you and apply them. More especially the definitions for geomorphology and economic geography, and make sure you make your summaries for your climatology for all the phenomena, and then for Mapwork, practice, and for application, practice those application questions, and know your definition for GIS, the disadvantages and advantages of the raster data and the vector data. Come, Kowe, you're moving proper. Thank you. Bye.